Welcome back to Joe's Motoventure. I want to take a few minutes today just to talk about things that I keep in my bike. Some of this all the time, some of this, situation dependent. Not all this stays in my bike all the time, but a good majority of it does. And some of it might be a little bit unnecessary, a little over prepared, but I like being ready for anything. And then some of this is for if you're in certain situations, going on a road trip or whatever, and you just want to be prepared. So I'll start over here with tools and such. This pouch just has some medicine in it. I've got ibuprofen and then some moist towelettes, which are really handy when you're out on the road. And then my registration and stuff. And then I can fit some other things in there if I need to. I've got my air compressor. This is a really cheap one off Amazon. It's kind of bulky actually, and I'll probably change to a smaller one in the future. But this was cheap and got me by to start out. It came with a regular like cigarette lighter plug, and I just spliced in a SAE plug so I can use my trickle charger port for that. But that thing works great, and that's actually probably of the tools I have in here, the thing I've used the most. I've only had to use it for myself once, but I've helped quite a few people out when they've had low tire pressure and they didn't have something to pump it up with. Over here, I've got this little tool pouch, and I keep a tire plug kit in here. So I've got both the tools there and some plugs. I keep some metric and American hex keys in there. Obviously, I ride a Harley. Most everything on there's American, but I ride with my wife a lot, and she has a Yamaha R7. So I like having those just in case. I've got a Torx bit set here, which, Harley's got Torx all over it. So that's handy. I've got a spark plug socket. Just because, if you're out on a trip or whatever and you have a spark plug go bad, you don't really want to pay a shop for that. It's an easy job. And so, I can go buy spark plugs a couple dollars and get fixed back up. An extension for my socket set, and then just a basic Leatherman. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and there's a lot of handy stuff in there. I've got this multi screwdriver. I don't really like this thing. I'll probably get something simpler and more compact, but I had it and I threw it in there just in case I needed it. I've got a socket set. This is more than I really need, but this little rail fits in the bottom of this pouch really nicely, and I didn't see the reason of taking some off or having them just thrown in there, all loose. A 3/8 ratchet. It's nothing special. This is a Husky brand ratchet I had laying around. Most of these tools are Harbor Freight, Walmart, cheap tools because they're not tools I use all the time. I'm not wearing them out. They just, it was stuff that I could throw in here cheap for emergency purposes. I've got 7/16 half and 9/16 wrench. You can do a lot with those. If I'm going on a road trip, I might throw a couple more in there, a couple more sizes just to be safe. And then a pair of side cutters, which these are really handy if you've got to pull something out of your tire, if I'm using the tire plug kit. But then also for zip ties. Zip ties will get you by in a pinch for a lot of different things. And so being able to cut them off and, do whatever, those are great. Bungee cords, I've just got one here just to save space on the table, but I usually keep 3 or 4 in there. And then these 2 straps, these were cheap straps from Home Depot, and they're like 12 feet long. They're ridiculously long, but you can easily tie up the slack. And then they just have little plastic buckles you feed them through. So all of this from here over, the screwdriver, the socket set, all that goes in this bag, which doesn't take up a lot of space. That's about it for tools that I keep on the bike, and most of that's always in the bike because I have the advantage. I've got saddlebags, that's easy for me. But obviously, if you didn't have all that space, maybe you had like a small tool pouch on the front of your bike or a little like swing arm bag. I would say bare minimum, I would have a tire plug kit, maybe some Torx bits if you've got a Harley and they're loaded with Torx bits. Your basic wrenches, a couple sockets, a more compact multi-way screwdriver, a few zip ties. You don't need a whole pouch. A bungee or two, and you could probably get by with a lot of that. As far as gear goes, I always have a first aid kit in the bike. This is a pretty basic kit. It's probably missing a couple things. I would say a tourniquet would be nice to have. You're on a bike. God forbid you or somebody else wrecks. That's a good thing to keep on the bike, for severe lacerations or whatever. Sunscreen. This has bit me in the ass before. And so now I keep a good bottle of sunscreen on the bike. Hat and sunglasses. Something that you don't think about a lot, especially if you have a full face helmet with the flip down sunshade in it. But when you get to where you're going, you're going to want sunglasses if you're outside, and a hat if you're bald like me. I wear that one a lot. That's what stays in the bike all the time. A good microfiber. This is a cheap one that Harley gave me at some event. And if you get caught out in the rain, you can keep your visor cleaned off with it. It helps a lot with visibility. If I spill fuel on the bike, I can wipe it up real quick or whatever, and then I just throw it in the wash and when I get back home. Gloves. So I learned the hard way, and we'll get into that in a little bit, about having the right gloves on the bike. So I always have these mechanics gloves for lighter duty use, and then these insulated leather gloves. These I picked up at Tractor Supply. I think I got them on clearance for like $14, and I love these gloves. They're amazing, and they're good down to the mid 40s for me, especially if it's sunny out. If it's any colder than that, I have heated gloves, but I can usually prepare for that, and now I actually have heated grips on my bike, so those two sets will pretty much get me by. This is just a cheap face shield that I got from Hog. They gave it to me, I think, when I renewed my membership one year. So that's a super, compact thing to keep in the bike. So if it's cold and you get stuck in some cold weather, even with a full face helmet, this can make a big difference on whether you're just miserable or not. I've got a spare pair of socks. These are actually brand new socks I bought because I went on a ride and my feet got soaked. It wasn't even raining on the way to the ride, but it had just rained. And so my feet got soaked. And I actually ran in a drugstore real quick and bought some cheap socks. And this was I could only get like a 3-pack. So I keep this pair in the bike all times. So if I get stuck in the rain and then it clears up, I have a way to, be a little bit more comfortable with some dry feet. Speaking of rain, I have this little emergency rain suit that I keep in the bike all the time. It's never been opened. This is from Walmart. They're cheap. This actually came with my first bike when I bought it. But I've never used it. I've never had to use it, but it's nice knowing it's there if I do need it. This is the rain cover for my Saddlemen seat. It's, when it's out like this, it's kind of bulky, but this thing will pack up really small. And I actually put that in the same pouch that like my registration and stuff is in. And then I've just got the jacket here, but if you're out on a road trip, having a rain jacket, or if there's a chance of rain that day, having a good rain jacket makes a big difference. It also makes a big difference if you hit a little bit unexpected chilly weather. Most rain jackets will break the wind pretty well. So that's nice as well. So I figured I'd go into a little short story about lessons learned about not having the right stuff on your bike. So last August, I went out to a hog rally in West Virginia with a group of people, and we had a week in August that was just unnormally mild for us, especially, over on the mid-East Coast. It's usually 90 plus degrees every day during the summer. And so we had like highs in the 70s for a little over a week, which was amazing. We loved it, right? But this was my first road trip I'd ever taken on a bike, and I didn't really plan correctly. So I left the house, the first morning. It was chilly, but it wasn't cold. And I had a hoodie and these light mechanics gloves. And it was fine for that whole first day. When I left the house, the sun was up. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm either. But being on a touring bike, I was comfortable. So the rally was in Charleston, West Virginia, but the group of us took advantage of the fact that we were heading that way, and we took a little detour on the way there. So the first day we all met up and we rode to Marion, Virginia. So if you're not familiar with that, that is where the south entrance of the Back of the Dragon is. Not the Tail of the Dragon, that's North Carolina, Tennessee, but the Back of the Dragon is a road that runs through the southwestern corner of Virginia. So we went to Marion, stayed there overnight, and then got up next morning and rode the Back of the Dragon up north, and then made our way to Charleston for the rally. Like I said, the warmest thing I had was a hoodie and those mechanics gloves. Well, we got up that morning in Marion and left the hotel at 8 a.m. It was 44 degrees. And, I was riding a road that was by far the most technical road I had ridden to date. I was unfamiliar with it, obviously, and my hands were numb the entire time. My one saving grace for my body was that I had this rain jacket with me. So my body wasn't cold. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold. So that cut the wind down a lot, putting that over top of the hoodie I had on. There was another guy on the ride that also didn't plan well, and he had every t-shirt he had with him on that day under his hoodie, just to stay as warm as he could. And then the next day I got up and went on a breakfast ride at the hog rally that left at 6:30 in the morning, and it was 40 degrees out, and we rode for about an hour. The place was only 5 minutes away, but the whole point of a hog rally is to get out and ride. And so, we took a very extended route to get there. Then we got there and found out that the place didn't open until 8 o'clock, and we got there at like 7:30. So that was fun. We could have slept in a little bit, and it could have been a little bit warmer on our ride had we left about a half hour later. So if I'm going on a road trip now, I'm going to take my chaps. No matter what time of year it is, I'm going to take a heavy jacket. I'm obviously going to take a rain suit. I'm going to take multiple pairs of gloves, and make sure that I'm prepared for the unexpected. So hopefully, I learned my lesson. Maybe I can save some of y'all from learning the same lesson the hard way, and be better prepared for those unexpected situations. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you on the next one.